Esther approached Father Abel. She informed him that she possessed a self-destruct code. In response, he inquired as to whether or not she was capable of operating a computer. In response, she stated that she is proficient with keyboards, and that, with the assistance of the bishop, she had obtained the ability to use a typewriter. Esther immediately entered the code into the computer, where she saw a video of Dietrich. Dietrich told her that if she is watching the video, then it indicates that she has been tricked by him once more. The reason for this is that the code that she had just entered is a code that changes the target to Astavan. The countdown is currently at 30 seconds. Esther was so taken aback by this information that she felt as though there was no way out of the situation. However, Father Abel did not lose up and instead used his identity as the Aerospace Unit Commander of the United Nations to obtain the self-destruct code and command in order to self-destruct the program. Esther, who was taken aback by the recent events, inquired about the identity of Father Abel in order to obtain more information. Meanwhile, an injured Radcon was seen as he suddenly charged into the place trying to attack Esther and Father Abel, to which he shot at them. But he got killed by Trez, who was chasing him from behind. Trez explained that Radcon had actually escaped. Meanwhile, Jula actually blocked the shot for Esther, who was surprised by this since she thought that they were enemies. After then, Jula explained that he had only intended to test Esther's capabilities, but that he had gone ahead and exceeded his expectations. He was able to recognize a great deal of comparable characteristics in both Esther and his deceased wife, Maria, to whom he had given his last breath. Trez notified Father Abel that the train will leave in 820 seconds after he was seen the following day admiring the sunny weather, and said that it is a beautiful day to set out. Father Abel mentioned that it is a great day to set off. On the other hand, he was taken aback when he saw that Esther had brought luggage with her. She then stated that there are some things that she wants to learn, as there are a lot of mysteries that she is perplexed about, including the true identity of Father Abel. For this reason, she is going to Rome, and she inquired as to whether or not it is okay for her to do so. She asked him what exactly he was. Trez then confirmed that it is acceptable for her to accompany them, and he reminded them that the train is scheduled to depart in 485 seconds. Immediately after hearing this, they sprinted in the direction of the train station. As two individuals in a multi-story building look down on the routine activities that take place on a daily basis, one of them begins a conversation by stating that the Marquis of Hungary, also known as Jula Kdr, has tragically passed away, and that he believes the person responsible for his death was a priest from the Vatican Catholic Church. The second guy responded by saying that there is a reason why the priests of the Vatican are referred to as the god of carnage. This was in response to the fact that he abhorred the Vatican, which was obvious to him. Father Nightroad, his junior, a male, and his sister Esther Blanchette were among the passengers on a moving train. Father Nightroad was becoming increasingly bored as they all sat down individually. During the train ride, he made the decision to open the window of the train. However, his junior and sister Esther were opposed to the idea, stating that there is a high probability of adversaries in the vicinity or attempting to take a shot at them, and therefore he had to return to his seat. A few minutes later, he proposed that they should all have a drink together, and that all they need to do is sit until the train reaches its destination. He was still looking to them for their support, as he did not want to drink by himself due to the fact that a young girl ran into their cabinet when they were on the train. When Father Trez got closer to her, he asked her why she had come to their cabinet and what would have prompted her to do so. All of them were surprised by his actions. She yelled at them, asking them if they were bounty hunters, and she pointed to her sister Esther, asking if she was the princess that they were attempting to protect. The little girls were still fascinated by their attire, which included a gun and a knife around their waists. She responded that it was her way to escape her mother, who was presumably in the near cabinet of the same train. Father Nightroad was amazed by the sharp organization of such a young child. When he inquired why she was there again, she said that it was her way to get away from her mother. According to what she admitted herself, her name is Etoile, which literally translates to stars. Temporarily, Tara became aware of movement when, despite the fact that Trez was still occupied with the girls, they were taken aback when, before they realized it, a vampire had entered the moving train and entered their cabinet section, demonstrating that he had come to them for a specific occasion. In addition, before they could take any action to protect themselves from the vampire, he held the girl while covering her face with one hand and threatened that if they did not comply with what he wanted to say, then they would feel the consequences of their actions. Etoile, being a young girl, was unaware of the vicious nature of the vampire. While she was being held by the vampire, she continued to speak to him, assuring him that she would never beg him for anything. All of the talking was a distraction that was created to divert the attention of the vampire as Sister Esther rescued Etoile from his grasp. Before anyone knew it, the two Vatican priests had taken advantage of the situation and moved closer to him at a point-range distance, pointing guns to his head. As a result, they began the interrogation by asking him what he was doing here, on board their train. However, he was able to defend himself by moving further away from them while remaining inside the same train cabinet. He explained to them that he had come specifically for them because he believes that they were the ones who were responsible for the death of the Marquis Jula Kadar. When still talking with the Vatican priest, a vampire came in through the window too, making two Vatican priests. He told the vampire that he was the one that killed Marquis Jula Kadar, as all of them was surprised to hear that. He let him know that he has came to meet him because he has been making too much information about the person that killed him and somehow he is getting closer to him. According to what he stated, he killed for a cause that he didn't like, such as sharing with any of them now or never, despite the fact that he was a nice vampire to him and had been helping him when he wasn't sucking blood. Therefore, he, Crusnik, needs to show up in order to make things simpler for him. Despite the fact that this led to an increase in tension, the vampire tried to combat him before they knew anything about it after having a talk with them. However, he was successful in a way that was both good and faster. In order to ensure everyone's safety, the passengers in one cabinet are required to relocate to the front of the train. After everything that has occurred, he flew away as a vampire via the same window that he came in by. He informed the Vatican priests that they will see him again at a later time because he has not come for them this time around. Upon examining the surroundings, Father Nightroad and Father Tres, together with their sister Esther, discover that their luggage, which included the train receipt, has been misplaced. They then board the train to leave them off. Because of this, individuals are responsible for their own transportation to wherever they are going. In a very dark room, there is a man standing up and looking at himself in the mirror. There is also a woman lying down on a sofa chair. Both of them are wearing black jackets. The conversation was started by her asking the guy a question. Despite the fact that he did not respond to her, she started the conversation by stating that there was a story about a sleeping beauty. If he has ever heard about it, he has not answered her. She was once a princess who, by accident, got herself pricked by a needle from a sewing machine, which led to her spending 100 years sleeping in a castle of thorns. She has stated that every time she thinks about that story, she always wonders what happened to her and what caused her to sleep in such a manner. Once again, we are back with the traveling priest from the Vatican, Sister Esther Blanchett, and the machine, Father Tre, who has just missed out on the opportunity to travel to Rome by train. The three of them are now confronted with a bush that is located close to them. They had inquired about the possibility that traveling through it would make their journey more expedient than traveling along the highway. However, they were surprised to discover that traveling via the forest would save them approximately 45 hours compared to traveling along the highway. As they all face the forest, a variety of thoughts go through their heads. For example, the only thing that the father could think about was the bears and boar that must have been inside the forest and could have eaten them. On the other hand, Esther, the sister, was very clear that they could get lost inside the forest, which would result in them being trapped there for an eternity. She also mentioned that the forest was so dark inside that she knew something was wrong with it to begin with. Sibling Esther was given the assurance by Father Nightroad that there would be no problems whatsoever so long as the machine that they shared was functioning properly. Now, as we are inside the jungle and strolling through it, Sister Esther can't help but notice that it is utilizing the same snake that has been there ever since it was there. This is because she has been passing the same location for some time. When Father Nightroad became aware of this, he suggested that they all should sit down and spend the night where they are. He did this so that in the morning, they would be able to navigate their way through the forest very well. However, when he was the third person who was in charge of using the navigator, he stated that it was not working there. When Father Nightroad was asked by Esther why he is not worried at all, he responded that it could be because he has always been sent to a difficult location or mission. He also begged his sister Esther to let her go through this because he believed that he was the one who would cause her to experience this inconvenience. As soon as Esther noticed that Father Nightroad was not present with them, he inquired with the other Vatican priest who was present with her. He stated that he was most likely surveying the region, and she responded by saying that she was always concerned about her home. During the time when Esther was still asking questions about Rome, Father Tres whispered that he had detected activity in the forest, which caused all of them to be completely alert. The only thing that Father Tres said in response was that the employer they are going to meet there is terrifying, and that the street and other things are not as wonderful as she could have imagined them to be in her head during her imagination. Still discussing when a plant with long stems was taking Sister Esther away, the Vatican priest and Father Tres had no other alternative but to fight the plant in order to save her. However, the problem is that Father Tres and the Vatican priest have not yet seen the vampire commanding the plant. Suddenly, Father Nightroad appears to be shaking with a cold chill all over his body. Father Tres asks her what happened to him. Suddenly, they heard a voice telling them that they must leave the forest because they are Terrans, which is causing them to destroy their forest. After hearing this, Father Tres asked for more clarification on what he was saying. At the same time, both of them had their backs turned to each other, looking carefully with their guns loaded and ready to shoot anything that came their way. All of this was taking place while it was still nighttime in the forest. Father Nightroad asked the voice if it was a Methuselah, which is a mythical forest that is neither human nor vampire. Following a struggle that was fruitless, Father Nightroad instructed Father Tres to remove his sister Esther from the trees and relocate to a more safe location, giving him the opportunity to be alone. It would appear that the tree has been there for the past 500 years, waiting for Father Nightroad. This is due to the fact that they were prior lovers. However, now that she has turned into a tree, he is able to recall the forest immediately, as it was a spot that he frequently went to before it turned into a bush. After a great deal of grieving between Father Nightroad and the tree spirit tree, a shooting took place between him and Father Tres against the forest tree. As a result of the conflict, which resulted in a bullet hurting one of Father Tres' machine parts, even his sister Esther Blanchett had to come from where she was in order to assist in defeating the tree spirit. As soon as they eradicate the adversaries, Father Nightroad, who was present in the land, recalls the path that led to it now. He joyfully instructed them to follow his footsteps as he planned to guide them out of the jungle. During the gun battle against the forest tree, every member of the family, including Father Tres, Sister Esther Blanchett, and Father Nightroad, sustained injuries. In order for them to continue their journey, the sister had to personally assist them in stitching some of the injured parts of their bodies. If it weren't for Father Tres, who was a machine, he would have been able to fix himself on his own. Even after sustaining an injury, he would continue to fire until he used the bullet to sever all of the extension branches of the tree. As the trees went to ashes in their very eyes, just like snow, Father Nightroad had to pray for her soul to find love after he had defeated Nightroad's father. He prayed for her soul to find love. They continued their journey once more after Father Tres and Sister Esther Blanchett had finished their work, and they phoned Father Nightroad to come and join them on the road as soon as possible. He was so taken aback by their response that he had to run after them as he was stitching his injured body part on his route, despite the fact that they were the ones who advised him to relax and take his time in treating his injury. When one of the guys saw Sister Esther dressed as a nun in the city, he raised the sound of his motorbike. He realized that the sound kept becoming lower and lower the more he tried to boost it, which led him to realize that he had run out of gas for his motorbike. The man was still considering how he could get petrol for his motorbike when he saw the woman who was acting as the coordinator. She was holding the firearms and looking really attractive. After seeing her for the first time, he was interested in getting to know her or perhaps becoming a friend to her because in his mind she was a beautiful nun. He asked his friend if he could introduce him to her because he was interested in getting to know her after seeing her. The person she was referring to was Esther, her sister. Even she had the impression that they were talking about her simply by looking at them. Yet she did not laugh hard enough to ask them or question them. In fact, the person who was standing next to her asked her why she was acting in such an odd manner. When Tres saw her doing something on her own, He asked her if she was alright with it. In the event that she is not, he will make it a priority to correct her because she is not. The machine informed Father Nightroad that they have not yet entered Rome because of the amount of time that they have all spent in the forest that they pass, indicating that they have spent more than the hour that they believe they have spent passing the forest. Father Nightroad told Esther that they have now arrived in Rome and that she could put his mind at ease. In spite of the fact that they have not yet arrived at Vatican Rome, Father Nightroad said that finally seeing a town after traveling through the wilderness for such a long time would allow them to be able to make effective use of or appreciate the city during the time that they will be spending there. Father Nightroad Street, roaming the street at night, they reach there. According to him, the street is full of drug dealer appearing alike individuals. Bare, looking at them, they appear to be popular enough, even possibly too popular. Father Nightroad Street stated this. After taking a look at the street, they all come to the conclusion that, in contrast to other towns, they would not be able to sleep on the street. Just as they were finishing their conversation, Father Nightroad pointed to a nearby inn and suggested that they spend the night there for the sake of increased safety. Esther was overjoyed to have this sister, and she suggested that they should stay in the inn next to her because she was in desperate need of a comfortable bed in order to rebuild her strength. There is a signal or a feeling that one of them who has been sent on a mission is nearby somewhere, but closer in the same city that they are with Father. There is still thinking about the person, who he might be, and what mission he might be on. Father is still waking up towards the inn. It instantly came to meet Father Thriz to tell him about this, and he was astonished that he had mistakenly shouted her name out of astonishment, asking machine in a loud voice, "What do you mean she is gone?" Before the machine knew it, it was unable to find Sister Esther again or find her. Apparently, Sister Esther has followed someone she saw among the throng. Assuming that he is wealthy, she continued to follow that guy until she came closer to him, at which point she saw that she was following the incorrect person. Little does she realize that she has abandoned her friends while at the same time she was concerned about Dietrich. Where she was resting her back against one of the walls of the street, thinking about what had just occurred with a worried expression on her face, when a group of street guys approached her and asked if she was a prostitute because she was alone in the street at night. The males did not seem to object, even though she was wearing nun attire in order to attract more customers, those who sex for money. Regardless of the fact that she was wearing, he tells them that they have missed their opportunity with her and that they should just leave her alone. The guy is tall and black. When Sister Esther discovered that the individuals who were pursuing her had turned back in response to his command, she realized that the problem was not becoming more and more challenging and difficult. When the neighbors of the man saw her with him, they all kept asking if he was the father to her or if he was her lover, but both of them ignored them as they walked down a street that was safer. According to Esther, the guys who carried her were just helping her get away from the bad guys. She was taking her to a more secure environment. After that, the conversation between the two of them continued, with the man asking her what she was doing in the city and more at this time. She then proceeded to explain to him what caused her to become lost in the street, that the town was not always like this until the invasion of the vampire guy, known for its vicious attitude. He asked her while they were both chatting if she knew anyone in the town on whom she could rely. He said that the town had been like this before. At the same time that he was trying to comfort her by placing his hand on her, he told her that she would leave for any location she came from the following day. Suddenly, all that Esther could hear was the loud gunshot that was fired, and she had to immediately close her eyes. She was trying to slow down in order to turn her head, and as she did so, she began by hearing and then seeing the vampire that she had been told about. Looking up, there was a shot to the head of the Terrans, which were the males she was talking to. As the vampire approached with the guys following after him, he intended to kill her. However, she was taken aback when Crusnik, the machine robot that had traveled to their village with them, appeared to defend her. Crusnik had come to protect her. Father Thriz also showed up as they both shot the vampire guard until it was only him left. Upon realizing that he had quickly seized his sister Esther, he wanted to use it to defend her. But the gunslayers came to his aid and shot the vampire, who eventually managed to escape for his life. At the same time that Leon, who was also an ex-field operator, came to her rescue, she promised him that they would meet again in the future to assist them. In the moment that he was finished with that, he climbed on his bike and after a length of time, he attempted to persuade his sister Esther to ride with him rather than with Father Nightroad and the machine. However, his sister declined to travel with him. In Rome, where they were all going, there was a nun sister named Sister Kate waiting for them as well. She had heard rumors about how beautiful Sister Esther was going to arrive, and she chose to keep counting the days until she eventually arrived, despite the fact that she had been seeing a lot of nuns.